Some Twitter employees may be foreign intelligence agents. Record level of Americans report poor life ratings. 3 Arkansas cops suspended for police brutality caught on video. Muslim daughters wearing Burkinis barred from pool in Canada. Indian farmers protest against Modi for breaking his promises. Muslim artist brings bold colors, funky shapes to latest mural in Milwaukee. From our Chicago studios, this is the Muslim News on Muslim Network TV. Assalamu alaikum, I'm Samana Siddiqui. Our top story tonight, an ex-head of security at Twitter is accusing the social media platform of reckless negligence. The disclosure was sent last month to U.S. Congress and federal agencies. Whistleblower Peter Zatko said Twitter is a danger to national security and to democracy. Zatko was previously the company's head of security, reporting directly to the CEO. He alleges Twitter's leadership has misled its own board and government regulators about its security vulnerabilities. He claims some of those vulnerabilities could open the door to foreign spying or manipulation, as well as hacking and disinformation campaigns. Zatko also told CNN that 1 or more current employees at Twitter may be working for a foreign intelligence service. His most damning allegations are about Parag Agarwal, the Indian-American CEO of Twitter. He said Agarwal repeatedly discouraged him from providing a full accounting of Twitter's security problems to the company's board of directors. On Monday, the judge who authorized the FBI's search of former President Donald Trump's Mar-A-Lago estate said the underlying evidence used to justify the unprecedented action is reliable. His comment came ahead of a Thursday deadline for the Justice Department to file a redacted version of the search warrant affidavit. It will be reviewed by Magistrate Judge Bruce Reinhardt. The affidavit includes sworn information the FBI submitted to establish probable cause for the search. Reinhardt wrote in a 13-page order that he is satisfied the facts sworn by the affiant are reliable. Releasing the affidavit to the public would not cause false information to be disseminated, he wrote. Americans are suffering at the highest rate in the past 14 years, according to a Gallup poll released Monday. The Gallup Life Evaluation Index was at 5.6% in July, exceeding the 4.8% rating measured in April. It is the highest percentage since the index was established in 2008. The survey was done during the post-COVID-19 era when suffering was already high. The poll surveyed over 3,000 U.S. adults and classified them as either struggling or suffering versus thriving. Their lives were rated on a scale from 0 to 10. Those who rated their current and future lives at 4 or lower are classified as suffering. People registering a 7 or higher rating with their anticipated life in 5 years at 8 or higher are classified as thriving. Factors in the poll include worsening economic conditions, high inflation, cutting spending, and rising healthcare costs. Kenosha, Wisconsin artist Jamie Brown painted a 14-story mural in the span of one evening during the Milwaukee Night Market, a monthly summer street festival. It's the Muslim convert's latest Milwaukee mural. Brown grew up Christian and converted to Islam 12 years ago. Her projects have taken her from Wisconsin to the Middle East and back. As a Muslim, Brown does not depict any living beings in her art, such as people or animals. She often incorporates subtle symbols in her geometric shapes and designs. This latest mural is a temporary installation standing inside the vacant first floor of an office building. It faces a wall of windows so passers-by can view the bright abstract design from the street. An 8th grader at a charter school in Malden, Massachusetts, violated the school's uniform policy by wearing hijab, according to a report. That rule says a hijab can only be worn after students submit a letter from a member of the clergy. The incident occurred August 18th on the first day of classes at the Mystic Valley Regional Charter School. The 8th grader received a school uniform compliance form saying an aspect of her uniform was out of compliance. In a now viral post, the student's sister said the young girl came home crying and in a horrible emotional state, refusing to go to school the next day. Her sister wrote when she was in 5th grade, she was forced to stay in the detention office until her parents obtained a letter from a religious leader. Tahira Amatul Wadud is executive director of CARE Massachusetts. She said many girls have come forward after this incident to say they had gone through the same thing in the past. 2 deputies and a police officer in Arkansas are under investigation for allegedly beating a man outside a convenience store. Footage of the assault was shared widely on social media. It shows the law enforcement officials beating the man while he appeared to lay prone on the concrete. Naomi Johnson is the woman who first shared the video of the incident. She said her sister, who witnessed the assault firsthand, sent her the clip, but was too shaken by what she saw to discuss the incident publicly. Johnson said her sister had seen the three officers talking with the man outside a Country Express and that the man appeared to be in mental distress. Arkansas State Police said the man, Randall Wooster, is being held on a number of charges, including resisting arrest, assault, and battery. The deputies have been suspended and the police officer has been placed on administrative leave. 20 internet service providers are offering high-speed internet access for $30 a month to U.S. households eligible for the Federal Affordable Connectivity Program. The $14.2 billion program replaced 2021's temporary pandemic-inspired Emergency Broadband Benefit Program. It neared 13.2 million households as of August 15th, an increase of more than 45% since early January. The rate is specifically offered for ACP enrollees who qualify because of their lower household income. President Joe Biden has said high-speed internet is not a luxury any longer, it's a necessity. The old program had 7.1 million subscribers. A right-wing dark money group controlled by conservative Leonard Leo was the beneficiary of a $1.6 billion donation from a shadowy electronics mogul with ties to the Koch network. Leo is a legal activist who has played a role in packing the U.S. Supreme Court with conservative ideologues. The enormous infusion of cash, reported Monday by the New York Times, could bolster and embolden right-wing efforts to push the U.S. judicial and political systems even further to the right. According to the Times, the gift was arranged through an unusual series of transactions that appear to have avoided tax liabilities for donor Bar Said and Leo's nonprofit. Said is former CEO of Trip Light and a longtime philanthropist for conservative causes. That includes organizations that attack climate science. The Center for Media and Democracy has found that Said is closely allied with the Koch network and funnels dark money through the same groups used by the Koches. Salon magazine reports Said may also have been the anonymous donor behind a 2008 campaign to distribute thousands of Islamophobic DVDs in swing states before the presidential election. That was led by the Clarion Fund, who sent out the material during a race in which former President Barack Obama was attacked with false claims of being Muslim. A Muslim mother and her daughters wearing burkinis were barred from a pool in Canada. Details after the break, so stay tuned, and we'll be right back after these messages.
A free 3-minute online chat can give you the personalized tips you need to start boosting your retirement savings today.
I am what hunger looks like in America.
If I could be you, and you could be me for just 1 hour. If we could find a way to get inside each other's minds. Walk a mile in my shoes. Walk a mile in my shoes. Well, before you abuse, criticize and accuse. Walk a mile in my shoes.
There are 16 million children struggling with hunger in America. That's 1 in 5 daughters, sons, neighbors, and classmates who don't know where their next meal is coming from. Yet billions of pounds of good food go to waste every year. It's time we do something about it. Feeding America is a nationwide network of food banks that helps provide meals to millions of kids and families in need. Visit feedingamerica.org to help them feed even more. Together, we can solve hunger. Together, we're feeding America.
Despite the development of a COVID-19 vaccine, millions around the world will not have access. We need a vaccine that's free and available to everyone, everywhere. It's time for a people's vaccine.
Open up your eyes.
Assalamu alaikum everyone, it's your brother Zain Bika from South Africa. One of the first educational programs ever produced for Muslim children was the ever popular Adam's World series. The colorful and comical Muslim puppets stole the heart of a generation. Sound Vision will be releasing brand new episodes of Adam's World with the launch of a Adam's World app. Subscribers will enjoy new Adam's World episodes as they are released, as well as all the classic episodes of Adam's World. So visit adamsworldapp.com now to learn more, subscribe, and enjoy new adventures of Adam and his friends. And let's keep helping tomorrow's Muslims today. Assalamu alaikum.
Adam's world. Believe me, there's a lot to see. Bismillah, let's explore.
To stop this genocide, we need your help.
Welcome back. In international news today, a Muslim mother and her daughters wearing burkinis were not allowed to swim at a water park in Winnipeg, Canada. Halima Jalul, her husband, and 2 daughters booked a room at the Lilac Resort in the city. CTV News reports. The family was told they could not enter the pool as they were wearing burkinis. The full-body women's swimsuits cover everything except the hands, face, and feet. Jalul said her daughters were crying. It's something the family experiences on a daily basis at the beach, she said. A health inspector was called to solve the problem. The family was given permission after the inspector said it was not against public health rules to enter the pool or water park with a burkini. However, the family chose to leave. Qatar recently arrested 60 foreign workers who protested going months without pay and deported some of them, an advocacy group said. The arrests come 3 months before the country's capital, Doha, hosts the 2022 FIFA World Cup. Qatar is facing intense international scrutiny over its labor practices ahead of the tournament. The country heavily relies on foreign labor like other Gulf Arab nations. The head of a labor consultancy investigating the detentions said it cast doubt on Qatar's pledges to improve the treatment of workers. Mustafa Qadri, executive director of the group Equidem Research, asked, "Is this really the reality coming out?" Qatar's government told the Associated Press a number of protesters were detained for breaching public safety laws. It declined to offer any information about the arrests or any deportations. On Monday, more than 5,000 farmers gathered in India's capital, New Delhi, to protest unfulfilled promises by the Indian government. They broke barricades and shouted slogans against Prime Minister Narendra Modi. This latest demonstration comes more than 8 months after farmers called off a year-long protest when the government conceded to several of their demands. Now, farmers are demanding the government guarantee a minimum support price for all produce and clear all farmer debts, among other things. The Samyukta Kisan Morcha, a coalition of over 40 Indian farmers' unions, organized Monday's protest. Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesperson Zhao Lijian said China objects to India's plan to hold the 2023 G20 summit in Jammu and Kashmir. China called the region disputed territory, underscoring that relevant sides should avoid unilateral moves that may complicate the situation. Li Jian said China's position on the Kashmir issue is consistent and clear-cut. He added the Kashmir dispute should be peacefully and properly addressed in accordance with the UN Charter, Security Council resolutions, and bilateral agreement. Pakistan has also objected to the first major international summit being held in Jammu and Kashmir. The region's special status, guaranteed under Article 370 of the Indian Constitution, was withdrawn and the state was divided into 2 union territories in August 2019. Coming up next after the break is our in-depth analysis segment, so stay tuned and we'll be right back after these messages.
If I could be you, and you could be me for just 1 hour. Walk a mile in my shoes. Walk a mile in my shoes.
Dad, they took over my bedroom. Come on, come on. Okay, Dad. 1, 2, 3. Dad! You saved me. Dad?
Are you okay?
I'm fine, dear.
Your hero needs you now, and AARP is here to help. Find the care guides you need at aarp.org/caregiving.
We are Justice for All. Headquartered in the heart of downtown Chicago, Justice for All is a global humanitarian initiative dedicated to raising awareness for human rights concerns impacting vulnerable minority groups. Our diverse team of staff and volunteers, led by Imam Malik Mujahid, work tirelessly to help Justice for All achieve their goals. We promote policies that protect religious freedom, address the root causes of mass displacement, and recognize the plight of refugees and forced migrants. Together, we can continue to stand up for justice. Justice for all.
Welcome back. It's time for our in-depth analysis segment. Let's watch.
Some serious things are happening in our country. FBI raided President Trump's home in Florida to recover some documents regarding nuclear secrets. Someone got up, posted on President Trump's social media, Truth Social, that he's gonna go, and he attacked FBI office. He couldn't penetrate, was fully armed, but was chased, and when negotiation failed, he was killed in Cincinnati, Ohio. And all of that at the 5th anniversary of Charlottesville attack by white supremacists. To discuss all of that and what is going on here is Patrick Eddington. Welcome to Muslim Network TV.
My pleasure.
Patrick Eddington is an American author, policy analyst, and national security and civil liberties at the Cato Institute, and previously served 1988 to 1996 as CIA military imagery analyst. So share with us what is happening in our country.
Yeah, unfortunately, an awful lot right now. Of course, the big breaking news this afternoon on August 12th is the fact that the search warrant that the FBI executed on former President Trump's residence in Mar-A-Lago has been unsealed. And it essentially does confirm a lot of what has been in the press the last 24 hours, specifically that the FBI recovered literally boxes and boxes of classified material, ranging from stuff at the confidential level all the way up to what's known as the top secret special compartmented information level. And the warrant indicates that among the charges that the former president may be facing are charges under the World War I era Espionage Act, which is beyond dramatic, to say the least. This is kind of, in some respects, making aspects of the Watergate scandal look a little bit tame. And unfortunately, as you noted in your intro, one of apparently a man who was one of President Trump's supporters, in fact, attempted to enter the FBI field office in Cincinnati. And as you indicated, that resulted ultimately in a chase. And as I understand it, at least something of a gun battle for a while, several miles from Cincinnati, in which that particular individual was ultimately killed. So, we have tensions that are running incredibly high in this country right now. A number of folks here in Washington, particularly on the Republican side, in my judgment, have made a series of extremely reckless statements about the FBI. I say that as someone who is not a fan of the FBI as it is currently constituted. But the plain fact of the matter is the FBI clearly had adequate probable cause to conduct the actions that they did with respect to President Trump's residence. And I think now we're really entering an entirely new phase in this drama in terms of the decisions that Attorney General Garland and his team are going to have to make with respect to how they decide to handle the president going forward. It'll be incredible, quite frankly, to see this. And of course, we still have the January 6th Select Committee in the House with its investigation going. So I think this is just going to dominate, essentially. These twin stories are now going to dominate, essentially, the headlines for the foreseeable future.
Patrick, the concern I have is while everyone is doing it by the book, by the law, but sometimes politics and the environment make certain decisions which may be right, extraordinarily critical in influencing the outcome. And this FBI president was appointed. This FBI director was appointed by President Trump himself. A fact which is not much in the headlines. But the earlier person, when he issued a statement just before Hillary Clinton and Trump election about finding some documents and all that, that changed the direction of the election. So sometime moving forward by the book may not give you the outcome which may be helpful. Here, when you look at the right-wing media, it's scary the way people are talking. What are your thoughts? I may be wrong. You have worked for the CIA, you're working in a think tank, but I'm somewhat scared being just going by the book, not realizing the significantly negative outcome which it might produce.
Well, I think the reality of the matter is, that the former president himself, Mr. Trump, has brought all of this on himself, through his own actions. And I think, one of the problems that I've always felt that we've had in this country, certainly since the Watergate era, is with respect to our political leaders, we have essentially created a two-tier system of justice. In other words, there's one system of justice for people like you and me, and seemingly a different kind of justice for people in elected or appointed office. And I think that it's that distinction essentially that is so corrosive to democracy, and why I believe, and a number of my Cato colleagues at this point also believe, that it's imperative for this particular investigation to run its course in a natural kind of way to the extent that it can. There's no question that there are almost certainly going to be some additional incidents involving some of the president's supporters going forward. But I think we need to keep in mind the fact that already the work of the January 6th Select Committee has begun to help change the narrative. Sarah Longwell is a longtime former Republican political operative. She has a podcast called The Focus Group, and she's also the publisher of The Bulwark. And I will tell you that she has done literally dozens and dozens of focus group with Trump voters, people who voted for Donald Trump both in 2016 and 2020. And she's done dozens of these focus groups ever since the 2020 election, and a number of them, since the January 6th attempted coup. And one thing that's become very clear in those focus groups is that President Trump's support among his core base has actually begun to erode significantly. Now, we'll see whether or not that changes as a result of some of these latest developments. But I think an awful lot of Trump voters were already beginning to look for an alternative, mainly because for two reasons, according to the focus group results. The first is the president's relative age. He and Joe Biden are not exactly spring chickens, so to speak, anymore. But also Trump voters really kind of feel like Trump has had his time. And they look at a candidate like Florida Governor Ron DeSantis as a younger Trump, essentially, somebody who would actually be eligible for 2 full terms, who still basically embraces the Trump agenda and so on and so forth. So, whether that dynamic now changes as a result of what's happened here with respect to this investigation, we'll just have to see. But I think we should all be very clear on one point. Violence is not the way to conduct politics in this country, period. And so that's my message, basically not only to President Trump supporters, but to folks on the far left who I know are beginning to kind of have thoughts along the lines of arming themselves and all the rest of that. I could go into that in more detail, I'm sure. But I do believe that it's important for everybody to kind of maintain a sense of perspective and to remember that if we want this country to actually function as a republic, we need people to abide by the rule of law. And the plain fact of the matter is that has to start with people at the very top of our government. And that's why I think this investigation, as well as what's happening with the January 6th Select Committee, is so incredibly important.
This is the 5th anniversary of Charlottesville, and many people at that time thought, okay, it's a wake-up call for America. Then January 6th happened. And now, although nothing of that magnitude, but the reaction to law enforcement and FBI, the way talk is, talk always is before actual violence takes place. Have we learned the lessons from Charlottesville?
Well, I think some people have probably learned some lessons from that. But look, there's really not any question that we have a big problem in this country with respect to folks embracing, white supremacist ideologies, and essentially the most extreme of those individuals, of course, have been engaged in horrific acts like what happened in Charlottesville and elsewhere in this country. The Patriot Front action against gay activists in Idaho back in June. So there's an awful lot of this kind of stuff that's going on right now. And of course, we have hate crimes that have been perpetrated against Arab and Muslim Americans. We have hate crimes that have been perpetrated against folks of Asian heritage, particularly targeting the Chinese American community. So I think getting folks to understand that to have a functioning pluralistic republic, folks have got to understand that they need to get along, and that they need to understand, and especially fellow whites like myself, need to understand that there has to be a place for everybody in this country, and there is a place for everyone in this country. And the minute we begin to abandon that fundamental ideal, then literally the very fabric of our society is going to disintegrate. And that's simply, as far as I'm concerned, just not an option. That cannot be allowed to happen.
I mean, well said. I mean, I can tell you this, there is no country on the earth where there are people from so many countries around the world. We know languages of the world. We literally know streets of the world. That should serve as our strength in a more competitive world arena. And instead of some people getting scared of that strength which we have. But I don't know if there is any people are talking about. Do you think, let me ask you another question. Do you think some media is contributing to this polarization, or is the politician leading to the polarization?
Well, we live, very much in a different age than we did just 20 years ago, before the rise of platforms like YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, of course, Instagram, TikTok. I mean, the list just literally kind of goes on. And that's one of the big differences between now and previous eras, in that the ability to spread information, good or bad, literally at the speed of light, is pretty much at everyone's fingertips. And so that creates essentially a series of very toxic echo chambers oftentimes. That's what we see online. But, one of the things that I've learned, and maybe you've had a similar experience in your life, when I walk away from my computer and I go out into my neighborhood and I greet my neighbors when I'm out walking my dogs or whatever, when I'm doing that, I'm encountering the real America. And I think that's what's important to kind of bear in mind too here. The online world, oftentimes I've found, is inhabited by folks who, in my view, oftentimes just don't really have a life in many respects. And they wind up spending an inordinate amount of time online, and an inordinate amount of time in their own little bubbles. And when you actually get out in the real world and you actually meet people face to face and you spend time with people, you begin to understand that what we see online is a distorted worldview in a lot of respects. That doesn't mean that we can ignore it. We can't. Whenever we see, hateful things online, they need to be confronted, with speech that challenges that, certainly. And we can't allow folks to engage in imminent incitements of violence. That's something that the Supreme Court dealt with in 1968 in a very famous case called Brandenburg v. Ohio. But by the same token, we also have to remember that in order for our republic to function properly under the Constitution, we've got to also respect folks' rights to speech, even speech that we might find offensive. And it's drawing that balance and making sure that people don't engage in acts of imminent violence and incitement to imminent violence. Those are the things that we need to ultimately be focused on. But I really will say that when you walk away from your computer or your device and you actually spend time with real people in the real world, you begin to understand, I think, just exactly how twisted and how completely disconnected from reality an awful lot of online life really is.
Well, thank you so much, Patrick, for your time. Truly appreciate your thoughts.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you. That's all from our Chicago studios tonight. Thank you for tuning in. You can find previous episodes and more on our YouTube or Facebook. For more content, keep watching Muslim Network TV or visit muslimnetwork.tv. Salam and good night.